What's good, everybody? It's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. This is very weird for me because I don't like doing these, right? A lot of people want to know more about me personally and stuff like this. And I'm not big on doing, right, like the Look at Me podcast, the internal breakdown podcast, the what's going on in my mind podcast. It's not been something I've ever been big on doing, right? But there's a lot of people that have told me and walked up to me and said that they're inspired by me being able to go from YouTube to ESPN. And how did I do it? What did I do? What are the tips and tricks? All of that stuff. And just really, they love my journey from going to starting my own show to getting to the next level. So this ain't gonna be crazy long, dog. Like, I mean, maybe, I don't know. Depends on how much I start talking, right? But it's one of those things where I had to look at myself and say that if people are telling you they're inspired by your story and they're asking you to tell your story, you're selfish to not tell it. And so I'm going to give y'all kind of like the synopsis of what I went through to get to where I am and kind of what we got, you know, moving forward and looking ahead and how we're going to try and do more. It's so crazy because it starts to me in my mind, right? Everything starts for me as an electrician and working. So I'm a journeyman electrician. I worked at a company. I mean, they probably not gonna trip on me if I say it. I don't know. Maybe they will. MKD Electric. And you know, it was not a mom and pop shop. It was a pretty big company. They were teaching us stuff at that point, but I kind of got in when it was maybe like 100 something people there. So it was still small. Everybody kind of knew everybody, different stuff like that. So you end up getting real close with people in that sense. And there was a day there that things really started for me and moving in the right direction towards the goal that I was trying to get to. Because I hated being an electrician. I hated it. Like, I'm not even gonna stunt with you, bro. Like, I went to work every day and I would, like, there were times, and I know it's dark to say, but these are real thoughts that came across my mind. I'm getting 100% with y'all, where I would go, if I hit this viaduct right here at a slow enough speed, my car will be messed up. I can't go to work. That's how much I hated going to work. I really did. And it wasn't because I didn't like hard work. It's just that I knew that all of a sudden while I was there, right, I had a passion for something else. And there's a day that things changed for me heading in through that. Now, through all of this, right, there's a lot of hard work. I worked at AT&T as a premise technician. I put in internet. Before that, I was a janitor. I came up through, you know, a lot of different struggles and stuff like that, mentally trying to, you know, keep myself focused at the job. I'm pretty sure I probably have ADHD and just don't take medicine for it, but that's neither here nor there. That's why you see me get on so many tangents on the show. But there was a day when, you know, I'm going through this. This may be my second year of my apprenticeship, and I'm going into work. I'm doing a job, but like, I'm not doing it, you know, working hard. And I'll never forget this day. Journeyman electrician pulls me aside, Jeremy Midgley, shout out J-Man. And he sits me down and he tells me something that will stick with me for the rest of my life. Cause I was always taught to work hard, but it was something that made it all of a sudden click with me. He said, I know that you want to be something else. You want to be a YouTube star. You want to be a sports talk analyst. You want to be a whatever it is, right? And I think that you have the talent to accomplish all of that. But you'll never get there if you're not willing to work for something that will pay you guaranteed money. You'll never get there if you're not willing to work hard at something that's a guarantee versus something that is a dream in your mind or a goal that you want to accomplish, because you have to build up that consistency. You have to build up that hard work. And from that day on, right, you know, I'm not going to say that I was the perfect electrician from thereafter. And I'm sure there's many people at that company or that I've worked with that will tell you I wasn't the perfect electrician there on after, right? But it was one of those situations where, no, I'm not the perfect electrician, but I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna go out there and work hard. And I deal with a lot of, I've also learned, that's the fun thing about this, right? You learn so much in this journey. that I've also learned that when I have failures, it sticks with me really, really hard. It sticks in my brain. I don't know if it's trying to be a perfectionist or if it's, imposter syndrome. I ain't got all the diagnoses and all that stuff, but for me, it's one of those things where it's like, man, like I really hate letting people down. And I feel like I let a lot of people down on the way to this journey. And so that's also something I had to overcome. But from that conversation, my YouTube game changed. And so I started to breeze. And I would post when I felt like it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's how a lot of people post on YouTube. You post when you feel like it. You post when you got something to talk about. You post how whatever it may be. You're going to post based on what your feeling is that day. And it was from that conversation that I realized, you want to know what? I go into work every day. And there are days, like I said, where I sit there and in my mind, I'm literally thinking about causing physical harm, or I'm literally thinking about, just how can I get out of this? Can I be sick? Can I be what can I do to not go in? To something that guaranteed me money, that guaranteed that my family was going to be set, the guaranteed that I was going to be good for the next week. And in construction, you end up getting paid weekly, right? But it was from that I realized that I get up and do that every day, and I hate it. I hate it. I get up every single day. I don't veer the car into oncoming traffic. I don't, I don't pretend to be sick if I'm not sick. I don't fake like the car batteries did. None of I get up, I take my butt in there every day, and I hate it. Why don't I do that with something I love? And that from that day forward, from that conversation, it changed how I went about building out what the Windy City Breeze is now, how I went about building out my show. And I think that is the basis of how I get to where I am. That's the basis of what the show is now, how the show is now over 21,000 subscribers, because consistency will always be more important than content, right? What do you mean, Pat? You want to give quality. You want to give the best. Yeah. But guess what? There are people out there that are looking for something every day. And if you're consistent and they come to rely on you for just a nugget to take something away from their day so that they can just vibe out to listen to whatever it is that you're talking about or whatever your niche is, right? Like that consistency builds out to something that to me is more important than what you think it might be, right? For me, I never thought of the breeze as something that was giving people joy in their day until I had that moment, until I started being consistent. Because when I wouldn't post an episode in a day, Muzz would be like, Pat, what's going on? You okay? How are you? What's happening here? What's going on? Like that's why, right? And I get into kind of all the things that I end up going through and different stuff like that. But like, it's one of those things where you become a part of people's daily routine. And then that's how you start to build up who you really are on this YouTube side. That doesn't mean it has to be who you are as a person. Listen, if you come on YouTube as a character, it is what it is, right? And whatever your consistency is, for me, it was daily. For me, I had to do it daily, right? Sports talk is always changing ever daily. Whatever your consistency is, if your consistency is a once a week podcast at 7 p.m., guess what? You need to be posting your podcast once a week at 7 p.m. If your consistency is posting 3 shorts a day, because we're people of routine, whether we are routine people or not, you wake up in the morning, there's some app that you click on your phone first every single day. For me, it's Google, because I'm looking up, okay, did I miss anything overnight? What's the latest news that I need to see? What are the Bears doing? What are the Bulls doing? What's going on nationally? Has anybody said anything crazy over, right? Like James Harden, what are you talking about, right? But it's one of those things that you don't expect it to become a part of your daily life. And even you as a creator. And then one day, all of a sudden, you realize you don't do it and it feels wrong. One day as a creator, you don't record and it feels wrong. And when I got to that point, I knew that this was something that I loved and this is something I wanted to pursue. And so I went about the process of building it out. Stefan Adon has been with me a long time. My brother started it off with me over on the Breeze, Bando B. he's out there. Shout out to TR family. They're doing their thing over there on Twitch right now and trying to grow their channel. We end up linking up with P Kid. Me and Kid end up meeting randomly. And my wife's big on, right? Like I'm not a huge go out and kick it around a bunch of people person. And Kid is kind of the opposite. Like he likes to be around people. He likes the energy that people bring. He likes the vibe. And so, when my wife was like, oh, we're going out to dinner with Kid and Amber, I was like, I don't know who these people are. She was like, you met them. Remember you was going to fight with them? I was like, I was going to fight him. She was like, no, you were going to fight with him. Like we went to this thing. You was at the club, blah, blah, blah. People got reckless. Y'all was going to fight these guys. And you was the only one that stood up. And I was like, oh, yeah, I do remember him. He was cool people. So we end up linking up. That's how me and Kid end up getting back linked up. We go through the process of building it out for a year. We crossed 1,000 subscribers together. We crossed 5,000 subscribers together. I think by the time we met the super producer, we were at, I want to say we were at 10,000. Maybe I'm wrong. We might have been at 8, but I want to say we were at 10. But there was so much going on in that process of building it out, right? But I realized from that point, okay, this is not something that you can carry the load on. If you really wanted to be successful, you can't be a lone wolf. And when I started realizing that I had this feeling of I want to do this for real, that changed the mindset for me of trying to go out and build it out. So me and my team, we've been growing the Breeze for 5 years now. Me and the Breeze crew, the Breeze boys, the Breeze boys. But it was one of those things where, again, everything for me is a revelation moment. I really do believe this too, right? Like I'm a big believer in God, and I don't believe that God lets you go through anything that you aren't ready to go through. At the moments that my channel took off, it was the moment that I was ready to go through that trial. And so it's a lot of building within your personal self. That first moment for me when my channel started to grow rapidly was when I realized, hey, you can't be taking days off. You don't take days off your job. You can't take days off of the Breeze. All of a sudden, I'm at 1,000 subscribers real quick. We're posting daily content. If I didn't post a video that day, I was posting 3 the next day to try and make up for the video that I didn't post that day. I'm learning the algorithm. And I think that's the other thing too, right? Like this is a process of, it's not just sit down and press record. I had to learn how to edit. I learned that off of YouTube. I had to learn how to, learn the algorithm for YouTube. I learned that off of YouTube. Like the knowledge that you have to go through, the knowledge that you have to gain to take that next step in this game is, to me, the most important thing that you can get, because I'm going to be honest with you, that's something that you're going to use forever. That's something that you're never going to stop doing. You're always going to be, like, of course, your show gets to a certain point where it's big enough, then you don't have to worry about it. You could just post a video, not trip, your name's already going to be up there, but I'm not there yet. And I don't know when I'll be there, right? I don't know when I'm going to hit that milestone. Maybe that day will come soon, but I'm not there yet. I can't just throw something up there and it says Pat the Designer did this, and people are going to just flock to it. But I think that the big thing for me that has really been this, that really took me from there, right? I think from 1 to 5, right? It was just pure grind, pure hard work from 1 to 5. And then from there on, it became, okay, now what's the strategy with this? What's the game plan? What's the goal? And I think that's the other part, that once you start to set your milestones and your goals that you want to accomplish with whatever you're doing, whatever your show is, whatever your pod is, that's how you get to that next level. So for me, right, it was sports talk. I wanted people to look at my channel as a place where they could see daily news, but also could hear Chicago's voice. That's how we came up with the live calls, right? We started doing Chicago Bulls live calls. When we started doing those, that was my voice and me learning a talent that I didn't even know I had, right? All of a sudden, I found out that I could do play-by-play, and it stemmed from me being a kid and my last name being too hard to pronounce on 2K. And so I would announce the game myself. So I'm playing the game and I'm sitting there, Morton Zoney back to the basket, turn around, pull up 3, got it. You know what I mean? And I developed all of these skills just from simple stuff like that. Like, you never know the small things that can turn into bigger things in your life. And, so we started doing the Chicago Bulls live calls. And when we would do those, all of a sudden, one day there's 100 people in there. All of a sudden, there's 200 people in there. All of a sudden, there's 500 people in there. And then we got to the point where there's 1,000 people in there watching these live calls, because there's people all over the world that can't hear what Stacey King and Adam Amin are doing. There's people all over the world that can't hear the radio calls with Chuck Swirsky and Bill Winnington. person and they want to hear what's going on with their team. I became the voice of, right, like what's going on with the Chicago Bulls for the YouTube side of things, because I was the one who was calling the games. I was giving you the live updates. I was giving you, what was going to happen next in the game. I was giving you my analysis, a breakdown on what I was seeing on the court. And once I realized that I had this skill that I had never tapped into, then we started going hard with it. One season, I think, right, the Bulls were terrible. We're live calling 82 games. The Bulls were winning 22 games of them. They were all god awful. I mean, like, Jim Boylan's the head coach. We're dying every day. We're sitting here like, why are we calling this? But it's those. And here's the other thing too, right? There's going to be hard moments. That was my hard moment, because you have to make something entertaining that is not. And then it's just about you. And that was the point where I realized that, Pat the Designer is someone who is not just Pat Moranzoni. Pat the Designer is an entertainer. He can go out there. He can be the fun guy. He can enjoy himself. He's not sitting on the couch, lights off, in the dark, watching anime, playing video games, stuff like that, right? Like, Pat the Designer is the outgoing guy. He's the, okay, let's go. Hey, we making this happen. Boom, let's do this. Let's get here. Okay, hey, to the corner, pull up 3, got it, boom. And then all of a sudden it had to be me being funny, me being entertaining, So from that struggle, I ended up learning my personality. I ended up learning that there's a jovial side to me that people don't get to see all of the time off camera, right? And I think that that's what really built the personality for the person that I am today and the person that I've become to. And I combine that with that hard work aspect. We still post every day. We still post content all the time. We still talk sports all the time. We're still very consistent with our channel, but now I get to be exciting and fun loving, and I get to see the joy, even though there's not a lot of joy in Talk Chicago Sports. But bear down, we coming for you. Justin Fields, y'all know what it is. But there's not a ton of joy, right? There hasn't been a ton of joy talking Chicago sports. So for me, it was taking it from there to there, right? How do I get to that next step? Bow, now I'm there. Consistency remained the key. Consistency is the key to everything with this. Because for people that are journalists, for people that are trying to get into sports talk, for people that are, people have come up and asked me, right? They asked me, a guy asked me at Bears training camp, my fault, bro, I don't remember your name if you're watching this, but I remember your face if I see you. But I've had people hit me up in the DMs and they've asked me, what is the key? Being consistent. I had already built up 1,000 videos that people could have gone to and watched to see my progression, see my growth, see how I talked, see how I articulated myself, to see how I viewed the game, right? So they had this entire catalog of stuff. And it was just about me going out there and at that point trying to put myself out there. And I wasn't even thinking about doing that, right? So fast forward a bunch of years, not a bunch of years, probably 2 years, right? Wife gets pregnant. My daughter was a premature baby. She was very premature, 27 weeks. We're going through that entire ordeal. We're going through it during the NBA playoffs. I believe we were in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals at that point. I want to say that it was the year that the Milwaukee Bucks end up winning in the finals. And I'm watching Phoenix and the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals, and I'm giving updates. And that was one of the most traumatic years of my life, because my daughter's being born premature. The day that my daughter's being born, the guy that taught me everything about pipe bending, about, one of my premier journeymen, right? Like the guys that you knew you could call. Bama, big shout out to Bama, rest in peace, brother. Passes away that day. We go into work, regular day. I'm working with one of my guys who's still my buddy to this day, we're sitting there at work, and all of a sudden we get a call that, Bama's dead. Crazy. What? Huh? Don't even know how to process this. The whole company calls everything off. because he's that instrumental. The company shut down for the day. He's that instrumental to what the company was doing. He had taught all of these guys who are running work how to, and who are number twos and stuff like that, and who had just spent a ton of time with him, how to do certain things in the field, how to be a journeyman, how to, all of this, right? And that guy's now gone, crushes us. As I'm leaving, I'm fighting back tears on the way home. My wife calls me, tells me my daughter's going to be born. 27 weeks. I'm freaking out. I'm about to be a dad. I get to the hospital, daughter's born. I mean, she's literally like this. Like, I got a picture of her, like she's like this. Like, she's so small. Maybe the palm, size of the palm of my hand probably, but very small. They put her in the NICU, all of that. We spent a ton of time in the NICU. But in all of that process, right, this company that, you know, at this point, I'm kind of done with it. I'm trying to do more for the breeze. The breeze is kind of starting to take off. But I end up going to work. I don't know, it might have been a Thursday or a Wednesday, random day, right? My daughter's been in the NICU at this point for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month at this point. And they call me in and let me know that I'm being fired. Never gave me a reason, never said why I was fired, never said there was an issue. I have a feeling why I was fired, right? Like, you know, I'm kind of, you know, I'm the honest person, so I don't care who you are. I'll sit there and tell you, right, like, hey, you being an idiot, let's not do that. I think that's kind of how it all went down, but neither here nor there. But now it's on me because I'm sitting here talking to my wife about, I'm going to do the breeze full time. I'm going to make this my passion. Let's do it. Let's go for it. Baby's here. I got a reason to work. I'm working harder than ever. Boom. It don't hit. I did it though. I did it. A year. I was home with my daughter, first year of her life. When she finally got home, she spent, I want to say 127 days, I believe, in the NICU. She comes home. I'm grinding. Y'all can go back and look at the streams. I'm on streams with my daughter. She's sleeping. I'm sitting here having full bears conversation. She's like strapped to my chest, right? I'm putting her down. We're trying to do a daily show back then. Like, stuff is just not hitting how I wanted it to. I didn't realize how the algorithm was going to affect it. Funds aren't coming in like we thought they were. All of this stuff is going on, right? For a year, I did this. That year made me the strongest I'd ever been, because I had to rely on myself, and that was all I had. And in that time, I got to a point where I was just on autopilot. I was a machine. I could just go down there, churn out a bunch of videos, go back up, but I was stressing the entire time. And the reason I say that this moment made me the strongest that I'd ever been was because I'd never not had something to fall on. I had just jumped. But there was somebody who got in my ear. I think all things are for a reason. And they said, listen, nobody's telling you to give up on your dream. But sometimes you got to take a step back before you can see the biggest picture. And when they told me that, that meant basically, hey, listen, y'all struggling a little bit financially. It's not going how you planned. Go back to work. All right. I go back to work, and it wasn't even long either, right? Like, I ended up, because of the contacts I had made in my first company, you know, I end up picking up a couple of side jobs on the weekend just to make some quick money, blah, blah, blah. I end up finding out that there's this solar company that wants some work, Rethink Electric. They need electricians. I go back there, I want to say right the week before Thanksgiving, I go back. In that time, I'm reacclimating myself. This is not what I want to do, but I'm making the best of it. I'm going out here. I'm realizing that, hey, I'm making really good money out here. And at the end of the day, this is working for my family. I'm doing things like this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And I started to get complacent, never like giving up on the dream 100%, but I'm starting to get to the point where like I can see me doing this. And from that year of me being strong, that sidestep back, you have to be very careful when you go through that process. Because I was strong, I was confident, I knew what I wanted to do, I knew how I was going to get there. I'm working, I'm doing all of this stuff, and it wasn't hitting the same way. And there was this little gift, and I don't remember who said it. maybe it was DC Young Fly, somebody, but I remember seeing this on TikTok. No, Country Wayne said it, right? I'm making wild references here. Country Wayne said this, and I heard it, and it stayed with me. He said, God will give you what you want, but you have to go through the process that it's going to take to get it, and it may not be right away. The devil will give you what you want right at that moment. And so for me, I realized I got what I want right at this moment. I got money. I got it. We paid. We good. We're here. Let's go. I got it. Off of that, I started to get complacent again. I started to go back to where I was before because all of a sudden I had this money that I needed. I saw opportunity. I saw how I could grow through this company. I saw how I could take the next steps, all of that, right? I saw all of these things. And so like it was the old me starting to creep back in, still working hard, but the complacency started to come in the show. And I had to ask myself, how much is it going to cost you to give up on your dream? How much money does it cost for you to give up on your dream? Is it $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year, $400,000 a year, $1 million a year? How much does it cost for you to live the rest of your life unhappy? I had to have this conversation with my wife. We had a real, got deep with it because it was a real moment for me where I was like, yo, this might be it. And of course, right, I'm skipping a bunch of stuff. I'm giving y'all the cliff notes because I don't want this to be an hour and a half long podcast. I'm already at 20 something minutes. So, but it was one of those things for me where this was a moment. It was another moment where it was me asking myself, are you ready? Are you ready to give up on this? Are you ready to be done? Are you ready to stop? And I'll never forget this. Something out of nowhere, because Stephen A. Smith had dropped his book, Straight Shooter. I had wanted to read it, but I was moving too much, hadn't had the time, wasn't really doing a lot of audio books because I was trying to run stuff and run jobs and different things like that. And so, I'm trying to put myself in this leadership role in construction. And for some reason, one day I said, you know what, I'm finally going to listen to it. Put it on in the car, listening to it. I'm flying through this book. I'm at chapter 3 before I even get to work. I'll never forget this day. It was March 1st of 2023. I've been here now. I've been at that company 5 months, right? Something like that. It was March 1st. I'm listening to chapter 5 of Stephen A. Smith's book. And he talks about basically how he gave up on going to Winston-Salem State because he had got injured. He had a setback. He had to take a step back and he didn't know how to process it. And I realized I'm kind of in this space right now. And when he went back, he had to talk to the coach. He said he was ready to go. He was doing this, blah, blah, blah. He goes and talks to a teacher. And basically, right, the gist of it, I don't want to give everything in the book away because it's an amazing book. Y'all should go read it 100%. Basically, what it comes down to is there were so many people that believed in him and he didn't believe enough in himself because he was hurt that he had gotten the basketball taken away from him. But everybody else believed that he wanted more. He had convinced them that he wanted more. And it was that day that I took another shot. And at this point, right, I had sent emails to people at Bleacher Report through that whole year, right? That whole year. I had sent emails to people at Bleacher Report. I had sent emails to people at ESPN, and they just kind of blew me off. I sent emails to people at, who else did I hit up? Barstool. I'm flooding it. I'm just trying to find a job that's going to allow my family to be able to have steady income coming in. And again, right, the letdown of, oh, y'all didn't respond to me. Y'all turned y'all back on me. I don't need y'all, blah, blah, blah. Off of that chapter, it gave me the confidence to go, I'm going to try one more time. I'm not going to give up on my dream. I'm going to go back out here. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to try and make this happen. I shoot a LinkedIn message to the head of content at ESPN and Good Karma Brands. And here's the point of all of this. You will get a million no's in this journey. No matter what you want your next step to be, there's going to be a million no's. The one yes can change everything. The one thing can change everything. And everything you've done to that point has to be on point. Because if it's not on point, then when they go to look to see what you do when you hit them up, you have nothing prepared. You're not prepared. Everything you're doing right now is not useless. Because when I hit up the head of content at ESPN, Danny Zetterman, one love to Danny, real love. I sent them the link with it. I literally was hitting him up to say, I just want to get in. I just want to build contacts, because that's how you do things in construction, right? You get in, you know people. All of a sudden you move up because you know people, different things like that. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna work my way up through being social media, and I'm gonna just get myself in there and get the being around these people. I'll get to talk to them and get the knowledge off of them. I show up to meet with Danny. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I send Danny a message. That day, Danny Zetterman hit me back. And I just said, hey, Danny, would love to meet you over Zoom. I think I have some really good ideas for social media that could help ESPN. And we could take it to the next step for the local radio station. Danny emailed me back and said, why don't we actually meet in person? There's a coffee shop by the studio. Can you come down? All of a sudden, everything that I had built up, everything that I had gone through told me, hey, this is what you're doing this for. This is why you're doing this. And all the thought process of my mind instantly snapped back. You're not an electrician, Pat. This is something that you can do, but it's not what you love to do. So I end up meeting with Danny. I'm pitching socials. I'm pitching social media. I'm trying to get my foot in the door. I'm pitching social media stuff. I can cut these videos up. I can do this. I can make this happen. I can, boom, we're here. We can make. And Danny looks me in the eye. He says, well, listen, Pat, that's all great, but I need to talk to you about something. I need a host. I saw your show. I don't know how I haven't seen you before, but it was the first time I'd seen your show. One, he said, the glasses are recognizable. You can never lose them or I'll fire you. Right, like that. Like he's told me that multiple times, right? So the glasses are staying for all of y'all that want to fry the glasses. I saw the roast video. It was funny though. I'm not gonna lie, buddy was coming at it. But he said it caught my attention, and then I heard you speak. And when he talked to me about what the position was, of course, now I'm on ESPN hosting the official Chicago Bears podcast. It was from that moment that I realized, okay, hey, everything that I've done to this point was for this moment. Every video, every post, every Twitter post, how I position my channel, how I speak on my videos, how I prepared my mind, how I go about talking sports, how I've done all of this, right? Every video from YouTube was a preparation for me taking the next step. And this is why I tell Muggs, consistency. He could go back and see that not only at that point, right, that I have Locked On Bulls. Because the part that I basically gloss over is I get a job doing at the Locked On Podcast Network. I work for the Locked On Podcast Network. I host the Locked On Bulls show. Shout out Mac Pack and Big Dave as they moved up to CHGO. They let me and Hayes take over that show. Appreciate them for that. That started to build my name up even more, different things like that, right? But that's still YouTube. That's still the podcast side of things. That's the side that I've been doing. But they could see that I had content for 5 days a week. They could see that I could hold a show by myself for 30 to 45 minutes, heck, hours. They could see that I could live call games by myself for 3-hour games. I had prepared myself for the moments, and when the moment came, I was ready for it. And that's how I end up taking the job at ESPN once it was offered to me. And that's how I end up, turning myself from, just Pat the Designer of the Windy City Breeze to ESPN's Pat the Designer. And here's what I'll leave everybody with, right? Because I've talked about consistency a lot. If you want to take the steps to get from YouTube to whatever it is, we're in a world now where that is attainable. Don't think it's not, and don't limit yourself. That's the part that is hard, because we'll put limits on ourselves. We'll say, oh, I'm a YouTuber, I'm a podcaster, I'm a whatever it is. No, I'm Pat the Designer, but I'm a brand. I'm an entertainer. I am, I'm somebody who goes on whenever a mic is on, and I want to run my mouth and all the things that my teacher said that he talked too much and he's always talking sports and all of those things, right? Like all these moments in my life, and I'm not telling y'all my whole life story here, right? This is really the last 6 years, but it's 6 years of preparation for this moment. And guess what? It's not stopping here. There's so much more I want to do. It doesn't stop with being just on the podcast on ESPN. Now they have me on the post game show on ESPN Radio. Eventually, I hope to host the show as one of the daily hosts on ESPN Radio, midday or morning show. You know what I mean? Where I can go in there and I can do my job every single day, and people get to hear me on the radio while still doing the Windy City Breeze and building that brand out. I want to build the Breeze brand out to the point where like there's where like the Breeze brand is the Pat McAfee show brand, where the Breeze brand is the podcast P brand, right? And listen, I'm behind the 8 ball. I didn't kick in the NFL. I don't shoot basketballs on an NBA court. I have to go every time this mic is on and make myself entertaining, make people say, hey, I want to click on this guy. I want to rock with this guy. I want to support this guy. And to me, that's one of the things that I'm still learning, I'm still developing, and it's a never-ending journey of how do I balance getting to the next step with enjoying where I am now. It's all a process. But remember every step of that process. Remember each moment, because that's how you get there. Me being at ESPN now has nothing to do with me sitting there going through the process of trying to get into ESPN. Me being through ESPN now, being at ESPN now, was because one person looked at me and spoke with the people at the higher ups and the people that are the powers that be, and said, hey, not only have we seen this guy's history and his past, we think that he's got a really bright future in this based on how we've seen him grow. Don't shy away from that. Don't shy away from the process. Mugs want to be so turn it around quick, get rich quick, do all of it. Like, it's not quick. This is 6 years. 6 years in the making. 6 years in the making. Through COVID stopped, and I didn't have anything to talk about. We still tried to post videos a couple of times a week, but there was just nothing to break down. There was nothing to talk about. Like, 6 years in the making, ups and downs, left and rights, and you got to just ride that roller coaster, take that journey. Don't stop. There's an opportunity for you. There's an audience for you. You just got to find it. And you can't do that if you're not consistent. Right now, where I'm at ESPN, it's the next step. But there's a lot of stairs before it. And I'm going to still keep going up. That's my goal, man. Not stopping, not slowing down, taking that next step and growing not only just my brand now, but the ESPN Chicago brand, the Chicago Bears podcast brand, the Windy City Breeze brand, everything to take this next step so that, we can get to a point where I'm sitting back here laughing with y'all, or not laughing at y'all, laughing with you guys, right? About, how we got here. And there's some people that listen, I see people in the comments now, 20,000. I still recognize the people that started with me. Baki, Shout out to Baki, man. Coach T. Coach T came on a little bit later. Jay Crit, though. Jay Crit was there in the beginning. Jay Crit was there 2018 playoff game. Bears end up losing. Sends me a bottle of Crown Royal in like the collector's glass. I still got the glasses upstairs because, he said, you're going to need to drink to talk about this team. There's so much going into the process. So I appreciate you guys for listening to my story. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you guys who have been a part of the story, who have been in the beginning, in the middle, and we're still in the middle of this thing. And I appreciate everybody who has shown love to me and has shown support. Appreciate my wife. I appreciate all the journeymen who I had ahead of me. I appreciate so many people, man, that I can't even name, right? Because there's been so many people who told me this ain't going to happen for you. And I remember every single one of y'all. I ain't going to lie to you. There's been so many people that told me you're not going to make it. This is just, nobody's going to watch this. 21,000 people later on the breeze. And now a host of an ESPN, 2 ESPN shows. It's pretty cool to see how far I've gotten whenever I take the few seconds that I can to look back. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys for showing love, for showing support. As always, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Maybe I'll come back on here. I mean, I'll try to do, some posts on this page as well, a lot more, giving you guys more insights. A lot of people want to see what's going on with me and see what I do on a daily and stuff like that. So maybe we'll do a lot more of that stuff. But I appreciate you guys for showing love. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Y'all stay safe out there, world. Y'all stay safe out there, content creators. Y'all stay safe out there, everybody. Peace.